A model upon you, all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the memorial blowing of the trumpets. Barakatha Yahweh.
Barakatha Yahweh.
Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
Asherah.
Asherah.
Athalanawa.
Athalanawa.
Hazakarwan.
Hazakarwan.
Thawarak.
Thawarak.
Makorah.
Makorah.
Kadash.
Kadash.
Bashalawam.
Bashalawam.
Tawada.
Tawada.
Amun.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the memorial blowing of trumpets and peace. Thank you, so be it. Okay. Taha'ayim Ma'ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalm 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyam Ya O Haharim Ma'ayan Yabawa'a Isaiah Yabawa'a Ma'yahawa Sha'asha Shemayim Wa'arataza La'a Jonathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashun Shashurama Yashirallah Yahweh Shamaya Yahweh Tazalia I'll God Yin Yawamam Hashemash La'a Hakaya Wayarak La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamaya Makau Rai Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakia Wabawaaya Ma'aitha Wa'ai Iwalam Basham Yahweh Shai So Wada Aman.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharella, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
So apply Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Chaya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaska, Saba'ah, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Baratazah, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakam, Yowum, Za, Wasalaklanawa, Kabawathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawathanawa, Wala'ah, Habiyanawa, Oh, Messiah ones, Abo, Hawashinawa, Marai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatha Parath, La'aywalam, Amen.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debt as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen.
Ha'ashara Matazwaf, 10 Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Akaryim, Alpanya, La'ah, Thaisha, Laka, Paso, Wala'ah, Thaibadum, La'ah, Talakwaka, Shama, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashawa, Zakar, Ath, Hayawum, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiyaka, Wa'amaka, La'ah, the Ratazak, La'ah, Tana'ap, La'ah, Daganab, La'ah, Ta'ina, Shakur, La'ah, Takamad, Ko, Asherah, Lara'ayaka, Aman.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may belong upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshua, be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Thawada Amun, Ba Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, or the Most High in the name of Christ that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it, to Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. Imad Rapunyo Yerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakarum, Abiyar, Wanava'ah, Alayawan, Malak, Sho, Shemayim, Waratazah, Wako, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagum, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Alawanawa, Ahabnawa, Apla, Yawaitazah, Yahweh Shai, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Baratasa 1, Anka, Yasha'Allah, Izarnawa, Banah, Wasa, Yasha'Allah, Oh, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Kayawamyum, Makwadum, Babakusha, Shalat, Mayaka'Allah, Wahataza Wadak, Alahayim, La, Maganawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Ba'akwar, Shalat, Haroka, Sho, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Alamanawa, Rabim, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada'if, Sho, Gabarka, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, From Yad, Wa'iwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers of angels to watch over, to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hathawara. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, or war, Lara Awa. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Koran, Hayol, Lakura, Ha'ain, Yeshabah, be seated. Kinfolk.
Huh?
Kinfolk.
Okay, well, go with that. Let's go with that. He good, man. That's right. He good too. He been here when he's like he talking. He good too. He goes for me, man. Yeah. What's the paper? Get up, go in the back room. It's pretty back there. Grab one piece of paper like Navi told me. I took it to class today, you know. And go in that back room. Huh? Yeah,
You got a pen down.
I just started. Yeah.
It's a bottle of water in the freezer.
Okay, hey, he go with this. Hey, put the date on here. 9/27/19. 27. That one is that point. Me too. Me too. Well, let me tell you, I got some more too. Big, five. He came, man. He came stuff.
All right, Shalom, all Israel. Pieces to all the brothers and sisters that's watching on the live stream, listening to us on the teleconference, those who are going to be watching this on YouTube later on, and to all the brothers and sisters that sit in the school, Shalom or peace. Happy Sabbath, happy new moon, happy memorial blowing of the trumpets. So this is one of those few, one of the days within the year where you have multiple holy days fall on the same day or the same night, right? This is the 7th-day Sabbath, right? Which we read in Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 8 on down, that the Most High says on the 7th day, we're supposed to rest from all our pleasures, all our labors, and come before him and worship, right? Do good things on the Sabbath day. This is also the new moon, the 7th new moon of the calendar year, right? So we know we're supposed to come before the Most High and worship on the new moon. We don't worship the new moon. It's a day in which is personified where we come before the Most High when you read scriptures. And then this is also the memorial trumpets, as the trumpets was a significant aspect or tool used throughout our history. When we read the Bible, as we're going to go through some scriptures tonight, that the Most High made it a memorial. He made it a holy day, that he wants all Israel to come together and remember the events and the significance of the trumpet and what part it plays within our nation, right? So again, happy Sabbath, happy new moon, happy memorial blowing of the trumpets. So this is Hayya Ashra al-Kanas, which is Hebrew for the Congregation of Israel, located here downtown Philadelphia and Germantown Avenue, where we teach the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, known as the Apocrypha. Thank you. Where we're in those books, you'll find the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, right? That pertains to the dietary law, pertains to the ceremonial days, pertains to the moral and civil code by which we're supposed to conduct ourselves living throughout the four corners of the earth. You'll find history in the Bible. You'll find testimonies in the Bible. You'll find archaeology as it pertains to different regions and things that was left there as a testimony to show proof of things that happened in the past when we read the scriptures. And then you'll also get to prophecies about things to come, right? A lot of the events that we see unfolding before our eyes right now have already been written. We're waiting for them to unfold, some on a large scale and even some on a small scale, right? We also read about the fruits of the Spirit, things that we now need to, increase in order to sustain ourselves before the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. In the Hebrew is known as Yahushua, right? So the Most High has us going through different trials and testimonies, different tribulations, bring those, right? And also to weed out those who are not worthy, right? Many are called, few are chosen. Everybody who's privy to opening up this Bible is not going to get the understanding. Everyone who's allowed to come into any of the various different schools throughout the four corners of the earth may be privy to come in or privileged to come in, but that doesn't mean that you will last to the end. Remember, Yahushua said in Matthew 24:13, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. So when we say we saved, Christ said, you got to endure until the end. That person shall be saved, right? The saving that we're trying to keep from Losing is being saved from out being in the world again, right? Your old man was out there in the world following the holidays, following sin or having sin reign over you and do all these things, right? But once you come into the truth, like it talks about in Isaiah, the 1st chapter, verses 13 on down, those things have been washed from you, right? The sins that was crimson has now been made white. So you have a new chance on life, right? So if you've been saved from the said perils, now you're into the bosom of the Most High and you want to sustain yourself, right? So this is the message that the Most High, or the good news that the Most High has for certain people, right? Those whose ancestors were known as the North American Indians, Seminole Indians, right? Those whose ancestors known as the Hispanics or Latins, right? North, Central, and South America. Those whose ancestors were known as the Negroes that came over in the cargo slave ships in the diaspora, the transatlantic slave trade. On your father's side, right? When you read the scriptures, everything is denoted or traced through your father's lineage. When you read Genesis all the way to Revelations, right? So that's how you now know who the children of Israel would be based on prophecy that's in the Bible, based on history that's in the Bible, based on the archaeology of the land, the geographical locations where the Most High said some of these tribes would be, right? So a lot of the things that we bring out when you listen to these classes is found in scripture, right? We can go through, all of the table of nations and pinpoint where they come from and why they're doing the things that they're doing and what's going to happen to them in the future. Same thing with us, right? Every one of us that are part of the nation of Israel is not going to be saved in the manner in which we, right? So that's why we come to these classes. We come before these holy days and we read these scriptures to get the understanding out of the Bible and how we become men and women servants of the Most High. All right. So again, tonight is 3 holy days in one. We're going to go through some scriptures pertaining to these events in the period of time that we have, because we still want to reserve some time to feast and enjoy ourselves and then prepare for the Sabbath service in the morning when we go into the Apocrypha. All right. So we're going to go to Leviticus 23.
So, Mark, what are you title right now?
I just said it. I said it's 3 holy days: the Sabbath, the new moon, and memorial blowing of the trumpets.
3 holy days. I said, yeah, 3 holy days.
What's today?
The Sabbath.
Okay, what else?
New moon.
Okay, what else?
And blowing the trumpet.
There you go. All right. So Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And the first verse. Leviticus 23 and 1 to verse 4. Kahanabiyah, if you could read that, Baba Shah.
Does everybody have it?
Sorry.
All right, so Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
So the Most High is now giving commandments through Moses to the children of Israel about his feast days, holy convocations, in a holy gathering when Israel came before the Most High clean and purified. Right? There's many laws throughout the scriptures that tells you when a person is unclean. Right? You're unclean through sex. You're unclean through death. A woman is unclean through her menstrual. A woman is unclean when she's childbearing. Right? When you have an issue of running blood, you cannot come to a holy convocation when those things are transpiring. Right? And the Most High has different time periods when you are to separate yourself from the congregation of the Lord. So it's here, it says, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. So when we're celebrating these feast days that the Most High is going to give to us, we have to remember these are not our own. These are the Most High's, right? I always say it's like if a person has a banquet or a birthday dinner or something that they want to have and invite you to, that's their function. You are attending their function. So when we come here, whether it's in this makeshift location, whether it's in a big establishment, a banquet hall, it's about attending the Most High's feasts. So all these man-made ones that we have out in society, so-called Thanksgiving, so-called Christmas, so-called Fourth, whatever those things are, those are man's feasts. Those are not the Most High's. So anytime someone says, oh yeah, we're gathering here for the Most High, you always have to question, well, are you doing what is prescribed in the scriptures, right? Read on.
Verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. The holy convocation, you shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Right,
so now it gets into the seventh day Sabbath, 6 days from Sunday to Monday, Sunday to Friday sundown, from Saturday sundown to Friday sundown is the time when you do all your work, right? Day begins when sun sets, right? And now the Most High is giving us how long we can do whatever it is we choose to do, whether it's work, pleasure, this, that, and the third. You have 6 days to do that. But on the seventh day, shut all that down, right? Now we know we're still in the last parts of our captivity from the diaspora. So there's certain times where you may be required to go work, right? That's where you ask for the blessing of grace, the Most High to have mercy on you, because now you're obligated to now show up because of work, right? But the Lord still wants us to have that in our minds, that this is a day that we're supposed to not work. We're supposed to at least give up some form of worship or do good deeds on the Sabbath day, right? So it says, you shall do no work therein, is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Read on.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Right. So it says, these are the feasts of the Lord. So Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is a chapter that outlines a majority of all of the feasts that the Most High commands Israel that we're supposed to come before him and worship, right? It starts off with the seventh day Sabbath, and then it's going to go into the beginning of the year feasts that the Lord requires us to attend, right? So we're going to whole list, but we're going to come back to it, right? So we start out with the Sabbath. Now let's jump to Genesis, first chapter. Genesis, the first chapter, 14th verse. Y'all, if you could read that, Baba Kushah, with the sense.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be light in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So when you see in the firmament, you see the light and the dark, and the sun and the moon. We're able to tell the days from sundown to sundown is the day. It's like the first day, and then the second day, and so on and so forth. And for seasons, so we're able to know by the moon, so we can know by, when there's a new moon, we see that it's black, and it's the beginning of a month. So able to count those days during the year to find out which are the seasons. Mm-hmm. Also by see what cycle of the earth the seasons are going through. So we're able to celebrate our feast days during the right season. Mm-hmm. By our calculation.
What verse you stopped at? Okay, keep going.
Verse 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Verse 16. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So the Most High gave us a great, two great lights, which is the sun and the moon. So the sun is the greater light, and the moon is the lesser light. So we're able to know the day from the night.
Well, it'll give it's for signs in the day, signs in the night, and it also gives us light, right? That's the most obvious, right? We can see in the day, we can see in the night. So now when we look at the beginning, when the Most High created the heavens and the earth, right? Most of us really didn't understand into the tools or the creation that he created with the sun and the moon, right? Sure, we know from history, we see the sun can be used as a date to tell a time of day. Like people used to have the sundial, right? So when it talks about in the 14th verse, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, we use these two lights, major lights that's in the heavens, to give us that time, right? The sun give us the days, the moon give us the months, right? So by using the moon, we can now get a month and then several months to get a year, right? But you have to be aware of what the Most High, on how the Lord created them from man for us to use, right? Let's go deeper into that. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 43rd chapter in the Apocrypha.
The verse one more time, sir.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43.
43.
and 6. So, you have an Apocrypha?
You got it on his phone.
You got it on his phone? All right.
Yeah, you got it.
You got it up, Pathak? All right. Page 96.
43:6. Got it.
Zakar, you got it?
Got it.
All right. In about 10 seconds, give Pathak 10 seconds and you read that. All right. Go ahead, Zakar.
43. Made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of time and a sign of the world.
Okay.
For the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. The moon is called after her.
Read that again. Verse 8.
The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully and changing, and her changing being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, the ointment, giving light in the highest place of the Lord.
Keep going.
At the commandment of the Holy One, they will stand in their order and never faint in their watches.
Right. So when you read this chapter, the Most High is going into his celestial creations, being the sun, the moon, and the stars. We're focusing on the moon right now because this is the 7th new moon in observance. So it goes into the breakdown behind the moon. Verse 6 says, he made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of time. So we are using the moon to be able to declare time of month, right? Time of week, right? By certain things that's going to transpire with the moon is how we can determine or declare time. It says, and a sign of the world. from the moon is the sign of feast. Why does it say from the moon is a sign of feasts?
They, I guess they can read off the moon for the time. So, I mean, if you know, we got computers in our hand now, but during that time, I guess they could read off the moon, the timing, the day, morning, noon, and night.
Right, but it's simple. It says from the moon is the sign of feast. Why does it say from the moon is the sign of feasts? When it's talking about feasts, what is it talking about?
The next week's coming up.
In general, when it says feast, what is it talking about in general? Huh? Celebration of what? We just read it in Leviticus.
Let me give us a friend.
What did we read in Leviticus? What did we start off with? The feast days of the Most High, right? The feast days of the Most High, or his holy days, right? Passover, rededication of the altar, right? Pentecost or Feast of Weeks. These are feast days of the Most High. I mentioned, like, in comparison on a higher level to what we do out in society by keeping Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving. Everybody comes together to celebrate those days. And normally on all those days, when you celebrate those days, after you go have your fun, what does everyone do? They eat, right? It's a feast. You didn't say that. It's a feast. You eat on Christmas Day, on Thanksgiving Day, on Halloween. You're going to even eat candy, right? And then you're going to go home and still have your regular food. 4th of July, it's a what? A barbecue, right? All of these days are feast. On Valentine's Day, what you going to do? You're going to take your spouse or your significant other to do what? Eat. Mother's Day, what you going to do? You're going to reserve a place for your mother to go eat at a restaurant, right? The one that you probably don't ever do is Father's Day, right? Fathers don't get a eat day, right? They get a tie and they get a little something, a little trinket here, something put on their desk, whatever, but they don't get a feast day, right? New Year's, right? You're going to go out, drink, have a finger, because it's a festive occasion, but the Most High is the one who instituted that, right? On all of his holy days, especially like the one we're doing now, right? We're going to understand the concept of what the day means, and then afterwards, you feast, right? You eat, you celebrate, you come together, right?
What did I say wrong? Did I say a holiday?
No.
What did I say?
All right, next verse. The 8th verse. What's the 8th verse talking about? I'm sorry. I'm gonna finish the 7th verse. It says, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. What is that saying, Zakar? Since you said you had the other part. A light that decreaseth in her perfection.
You say verse 7?
Verse 7, the second part of
the sign of the feast, a light that decreased in her perfection. It will match up like what you said, a feast of the holidays of God high holy days.
But we're talking about the part where it's a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The thought, you have them out.
The sign let them know that the day of the feast. The light that shows the sign that let you know what day is on the feast day of the new
Mhm.
Wait. So the moon goes through changes, because at times it says a full moon. It's a full moon. So it goes through changes. After full, then it starts to get less of it. It goes to different changes, and then it becomes dark. That means it decreasing after the full moon. It's a full moon, and it starts to decrease. The light starts to go down and down and down to go to different changes.
So with the moon start off full?
It's a full. When it says a half, or it says a 3/4 or a quarter, you can see that it's changing. So when you're in the middle of nowhere, it's a new moon when it's black. So okay, it's going to different phases, going different. Then it gets full, and then it starts to get less and less. In the middle of the month, it's a full moon.
Wait a minute, hold on.
And then after it go into full moon, then it starts to go to different phases, getting lesser and lesser.
Light.
So it's decreasing in its light.
Mm-hmm.
So you know when it starts to decrease, then you know it's going to the end of the month.
So to clear it up for you, Zakar, and the reason why I kind of kept asking the questions, because I always say, you know, the basic things that we learn in here of, you know, the Sabbath day, the new moon, what our nationality is, some of the laws, these are things should be like our backhand. All right. Like especially the Sabbath and the new moon, because we do the Sabbath every week, right? The new moon every month. For us that's been in here for, you know, years now, in the truth for years, that means you 70, you know, I don't know how many new moons or so that we should be able to know that, you know, some of these precepts, a light that decreaseth, is just talking about the light. The moon is a light, right? It is a light. It decreases. We're going to get to the other verse. It's going to say that it increases. That's why I read all the way down to 10. It says, at the commandment of the Holy One, they will stand in their order and never faint in their watches. Meaning the moon is a creation. It has a spirit. It follows the commandment of the Most High. When the Most High says to increase, it increases. When the Most High says to decrease, it decreases at the commandment of the Most High. Whenever that time is, when the Most High started it, he said, do that. And it never did anything other than how the Lord wanted it to increase. So when it says a light that decreaseth in her perfection, it's been perfect since the beginning.
So, do the moon start off full and decrease, or quarter, half? How do the moon start off?
The new moon is a dark moon. It is dark.
Ain't no moon.
Right. No light in the moon. It's a dark moon.
It start off dark.
Correct.
Okay, it start off dark. Okay, green with it. It start off dark. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. 56 now. It start off dark.
We said 56.
Yeah, my birthday was last Friday. Dark. Then quarter, half, 3/4, full. That's the way it goes.
No, it goes. So when you do,
That's what I mean.
right, when we do anything in Hebrew, everything is done from what? Or anything in
Right to
Israel
left.
is right to left.
So
We
it's
read,
on full.
we read from right wonderfully in his perfection. It's going to start from right to left. So when you see a new moon, right? When you see the new moon, you're going to see it's a dark moon. You won't see, you can see, sometimes you can see the outer part of the moon.
Right.
But when it starts to increase, right, it's going to go from right. And that's where you'll see the little crescent.
Right.
It's going to always start from the right. When it gets to a quarter lit of the moon, when the right-hand side is lit, that's a week. That's the first week of the month, right? When it's a full moon, that's the second week, which is you're in the half portion of the month. You're in the middle of the month, right? That's when we get into the Passover, you get into the Feast of the Tabernacles. Those holy days will always be a full moon, because you're in the middle of the month, the 14th day at evening or the 15th day when you get into the law, right? Then, as it's now getting into the third week, the moon is going to start now to decrease. It's going to be now the third week, the right hand to the middle will be dark.
Right.
And then the left hand side will be lit. That's the third week. Now, as you're getting closer to the ending of the fourth week, which is the ending of the month, you'll see the crescent now start to appear on the left-hand side of the moon.
Like the commercial, little boy sitting there fishing.
Right. Exactly. So now as that, exactly. So now when it talks about the sign, as you're observing the moon, right, and you're starting to see this, this is when you know, oh, we're coming to the end of the month, and now we're going into another month, right? So now the Most High gave us a time when we're supposed to start counting the beginnings of months, right? Let's go to Exodus real quick. Let's go to Exodus.
Yeah.
The 12th chapter. And the first verse.
All right.
Israel was coming out of Egypt, right? Now the Most High was leading Israel out of Egypt by the man Moses and his brother Aaron, right?
All right.
So the Exodus 12:1.
And the Lord spake to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Right. So now the Lord is telling Moses, this month that you're in right now, this period that you're in, this is the beginning of your year. Because the first month of a calendar year is your new year now. So start counting from right now. So this is when Moses had to, and all Israel had to identify this as a sign between us and the Most High. Now, what season was this in? So now we have a month, and now we also read about in Genesis a season. So now go to Exodus, the 9th chapter. This is Exodus 12:1 and 2.
Exodus 9.
And now we're going to go to Exodus 9.
What verse?
31.
Ooh, and the flax. Son.
Exodus 9:31.
And the flax and the barley was submitted.
Was smitten.
Smitten. For the barley was in the ear, and the flax was boiled.
Right? So what is that talking about? What is that saying?
See,
why did I go here?
We had grown up of that time of the season.
Say again?
The flax and the barley was submitted. That means
but it's letting you know you're on the right track, right? It says the flax and the barley was smitten, right? So the Most High was sending a plague upon Egypt at this time, right? It was coming down. The Lord was sending down hail with fire in it. And when this was happening, the flax and the barley in the harvest season started to get burned up, right? Because now harvesting time, because it was there, it had produced, it had yielded its fruit. So they were getting burned, right? But then the next verse says what?
But the wheat and the rye was not submitted, for they was not grown up.
So it was not wheat harvest yet. It wasn't wheat season. It wasn't the rye season. The flax, we was in that time period. So now when we coming out of Egypt, that spring season, right? Because that's when this is happening during the spring season, the beginning of our year, that first month, that's when we now started to count, right? Same thing when you read further on in the chapter that we started in Exodus 12, it's going to start defining the Passover, right? So Passover is always kept in the spring season, right? So this is the sign between us and Israel, the season and the month, when we're supposed to come and worship before the Lord. All right. So now that's the time period that the Lord gave us. So now let's go back to the Apocrypha, just to give you a little.
That's it right there.
So let's go back to Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43. Shalom. Back in Ecclesiasticus, keep saying Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, and we have verse 8. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 8.
43 and 8. Okay, we go in verse 8. mother is called after her name.
Right.
Okay. You ready? Okay, Ecclesiastes chapter 43, verse 8. The mother is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Right. So the month is called after her name, after the moon. Right. So there's a few moons or a few months that have a name, like the first month in the first month in the year.
Yes.
Right. We'll usually you'll see it as named as Abib.
Abib. Right.
Because we just read that verse in Exodus 9 and 31 where it talks about in the ear. Right. That's what the name Abib means. Right. That's where it comes from. And we named that month, or it was synonymous with this season. But we'll have first month, second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, sixth month because of the moon. When the moon comes in, then we start to count and determine the moon. Right. So this is how it is a sign for us. Right. Remember, it said back in the 7th verse, from the moon is a sign of feasts. The reason why I asked this a sign of feast, because we cannot know when to keep a feast day without knowing the month that we're in. Right now, quick quiz. We're in this 7th month of our calendar year, right? Not man's calendar, but the Most High's calendar that he's given to Israel. So we're in the 7th month, right? What are the holy days that's in this month?
Okay.
That's one.
The new moon.
Okay.
And the Sabbath.
What else? Hold on, Zakari. I know you know. Hold on, Zakari. I'm trying to see Zakar and Patak, right? If they Zakar and Patak, what are the other holy days in this month? So you said the Sabbath, you said the new moon, you said the memorial blowing of the trumpets. What else? What else is going to happen in this month? High holy days.
Your input is invalid.
The Feast of Tabernacles. There you go. All right. Now there's one more. After the Feast of the Tabernacles is another one. Well, before the Feast of the Tabernacles, actually. There's another one. 7th month. There's another holy day in the 7th month. I know.
Yeah. You don't know your other name. Young man, that's your name. Young man again. No, I'm not.
Watch a lot of things. We can watch a lot of things on online and see all kind of other little things of history and everything. But some of the things that's our backbone, we should know, right? We got to know these things, right? So, say again? No, it's not the day of Simon. So, not the first fruits, right? So, again, the 7th month, the first holy day in the 7th month is the memorial blowing of the trumpets, right? It's all coincide with the new moon, right? Also today coincides with the Sabbath, right? Then the next one that's coming is the Day of Atonement. It's the 10th day of the month, right? Day of Atonement is the 10th day of the month, right? Then following the Day of Atonement, the 15th day is the Feast of the Tabernacles, right? That's the order in the month. Again, so I think Kahan Nabiyah, I don't know, it was about a month or two ago. I think, we've gone through this many times, right? I know he was going through the priest test and going through, the tribes and everything that's in there. This is something that we go through every time, right? I don't care. Listen, after a while, every class, especially for Zakar and Patak, since y'all here early, every class that y'all come in, Y'all gonna have to rattle them off at the beginning of class until you get it, right? I mean, seriously, until you get it, right? So yeah, because it can't be, you know, representing the Most High as a representative or an ambassador of the Most High, and you don't know when to worship the Most High.
Okay, I respect that.
Is there a mystery in the scripture for those?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what we're with.
Where is that?
This, so the majority of them in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and then you have others. You have others that are in other chapters in the Bible, right? Like the days of Purim, you find in the book of Esther. The feast of the rededication of the altar, you find that in Maccabees. But the majority of the feast days that we keep, that we just named, is in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. We're going to go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. The memorial blowing of the trumpets was the first one.
There is no consensus on dates. You know, like one move from one particular date.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of I'm just coming off the top of this case,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because of our captivity,
Mm-hmm.
our dates, times have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a basis
Mm-hmm.
that we can start from to get a consensus on what the actual names
Mm-hmm.
are, or do we worship or follow the holy days in spirit
Mm-hmm.
and faith?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna follow them like they've been being. We may be a day or two off.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. So as you walked in, that's exactly what we was doing. For dates, right? So we just read in Exodus, the 12th chapter, where the Most High said, this is the beginning of your months, right? The first month of your season. And we went to go find out when is that time that we now determine that this is the first month of our season. And it's during the barley season, right? The barley season is that moon, that's that month or the moon that begins during the time of the barley season. That's when we count. Before then, we went into understanding how you know when the month begins, as far as for the phases of the moon, right? When you observe the moon, when you see the moon on its dark side, when you start to see it lighting from the right to the left, you're in the beginning or the first week of the month. So you just came in right after we was going through those scriptures. The brother Zakar, because I know he has them down about 20, 30 times in his notebook over there, right? He'll give you those other scriptures, right? But I'm gonna give them to you right now. You write them down.
I'm gonna give my book. I'll give my piece of paper.
Genesis, the first chapter, write down 14 to 16. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. If you have an Apocrypha or know about the Apocrypha, there you go. 43rd chapter, 6 to 10. 43, 6 to 10. And then Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, 1 to 2. I'm sorry, Exodus. Thank you. Exodus chapter 12. Exodus. I keep saying Ecclesiasticus and Exodus again. Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 to 2. Exodus chapter 9, verse 31. Right? So again, that's a series of scriptures, right? The Bible tells you line upon line, here a little, there a little. Precepts must all align together to give you the complete picture, right? You don't read this like a novel. You don't read this like a storybook. You read some here, you read some there, you read some here, and you put them all together to get the complete concept, the thought, or the intention with the Most High, or the spirit behind what the Most High wants to give us. So those scriptures begins or starts you off to understanding how you get that date. Now, with that being said, write another verse down, Judges 5 and 11.
Sure.
I'm going to go to this real quick. I'm not going to go too deep in it, but I'm going to read it. This is Judges 5 and 11. to answer your question. So whoever dialed in on the teleconference line, make sure you put your line on mute. Huh? Yeah. Make sure you put your lines on mute to reduce the feedback on the line. So Judges 5:11 says, they that are delivered from the noise of archers in the place of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous act toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gate, right? I'm going to give you the breakdown, but the piece out of this is what I'm trying to answer your question. So it says, they that are delivered from the noise of archers. It's talking about Israel in lands of their captivity, wherever they are. It says they are going to be delivered from the noise of archers. Archers, when you have a bow and arrow, it does not make noise, right? So it's not talking about a man standing there with an actual bow and trying to hit his target. This is talking about something prophetic where you have missiles that look like arrows. They make loud noises. The Most High prophesied that it's going to be during the time of the Third World War, that'll be a lot of missiles that will hit the earth. The nuclear intercontinental missiles that a lot of countries and nations have created will let loose and they will hit the earth. When that happens, those of Israel who are the righteous, those who are following the right paths, have to be delivered. The Bible tells you that Christ is coming back with the angels to go and redeem them from the four corners of the earth so that they don't have to feel that destruction when it happens. So it says, they that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water. Drawing water means your servitude. When you're in slavery or you are paying tribute, you are now going to draw water from somewhere for someone else, right? You are captive. You are servant to another people, right? The Bible has precepts that outline what this means, but I'm just getting to the main piece, which is this. It says, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. So here in the land of our captivity, whether we're here, whether we're in Europe, whether we're in UK, whether we're in Africa, whether we're in South America, wherever we are to rehearse the righteous acts. In rehearsal, you may get certain things wrong. You may miss your place. You may miss your line. But guess what you can do while you're rehearsing? You can start over again, right? You can go back and read the line again. You can actually say, hold on, I missed my mark. Where was I supposed to be? I was supposed to stand over there. I'm going to go stand over there. I forgot my place. So you can try to get it right, but you're rehearsing the righteous acts. Another camp somewhere else, and they say, well, my new moon is 2 days from now, right? You're not going to find me or someone saying, oh, no, y'all totally off, right? Because I give them the benefit of the doubt that says, they're rehearsing the righteous acts. They're not rehearsing the wicked acts, because they could be setting up for Halloween. They could be setting up for Thanksgiving. They could be setting up for Christmas, right? So we are all rehearsing the righteous acts where the Most High gives us that space of mercy, that space of grace, winks at our ignorance on certain things that we've done in the past that were wicked, but we're all trying, right? Yeah. So if there are brothers, and we've seen it, we've all come together before at councils, when we had different schools come together and say, we're going to keep Passover. What day is your Passover? My day is the 15th. Well, my day is the 13th. All right, how did you get your 13th? Well, I went by Jerusalem time. Well, we went by New York City time. Well, we in Cali. We going by this time. All right, well, let's for brotherhood all come together and choose a time. But let's, for the sake of brotherhood, let's choose a time. Somebody may say, well, I'm going to, for my sake, I'm going to keep this day. Cool, right? In that case, we're rehearsing the righteous acts. We're not the judge to go and say, well, Dag, the 2 days is up.
That's on Christ.
That's on Christ and the Most High to deal with those things, right? And keep in mind, it's out of the sincerity of your heart, right? That's out of the sincerity of your heart and how you're going about trying to keep the Most High's commandments and his laws, right? It's always the intention behind why you do things. Right? If you're doing it with good intentions and rehearsing the righteous acts, then the Most High will have leeway and have mercy on you for those things, right? So again, to go back to your point, as far as for how we determine it, we have scriptures, and I gave you a few of them to kind of let us know when we start, how we know when it goes from what point to what point. And then we say, okay, I have that, order. I get that. Now we say, from the moon is a sign of feast. Now I'm counting. That was the first one. That's the second one. That's the third one. That's the fourth one. The fifth one. The sixth one. Now we're in the seventh one. Right? So now we're in the seventh month. Let's see what the Most High wants us to do in the seventh month. Let's go to Leviticus 23. Let's go back to Leviticus 23.
Verse 2.
23.
How you page?
And we're going to go to 23.
Okay, that's right. Leviticus 23. And the Lord.
Hold on. Let somebody else read out. Let's, share the well here.
You can't read too well, sir.
All right, you got it? All right. If you can read a little bit loud, because we got people on the teleconference line over there.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the seventh month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
Right. So now it's another commandment as we get to this point in the chapter. Let the children of Israel know that when the seventh month gets here, so before we even read any further, the whole nation had to have that concept that you just start counting and start figuring out what month is what month, right? Before we can get to any feast day, that has to be understood. Once you have that understood, okay, now in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, is shall be a Sabbath, meaning what? It says shall be a Sabbath. When he says shall be a Sabbath, what does that mean?
That's a holy day.
A holy day. What else?
Of the blowing of trumpet.
No, but we didn't get to that holy. We didn't get to the memorial blowing the trumpet. It just says it's a Sabbath. You shall have a Sabbath, comma. When he says it shall have a Sabbath, what does that mean? Say again. Right. So you now have a day of rest, right? From everything else that you was doing out of your own personal situations. Now you put that to the side. Rest from all your labors. Rest from all your pleasures. Now you're having a Sabbath for worship to the Lord. What kind of a Sabbath? What does it say right after? No, right after back in 24, where it says, shall ye have a Sabbath? Right. So this Sabbath is to honor the memorial or the remembrance of the blowing of trumpets, right? And holy convocation, right? When you come on this Sabbath, of course, again, a reminder, you cannot be unclean. So you have to go understand those laws, as we said earlier, about what makes a man unclean or a woman unclean, that you now have to be separated. But on this day, this is a memorial blowing of a trumpets convocation. Read.
And you shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Right. So it says, ye shall do no servile work therein. Meaning what? No servile work therein. Meaning what?
Do no work at all.
When it says servile work, what is it really talking about? Work for hire, laborers work, right? Got to go to your job, your 9 to 5, your 10 to whatever that is, right? That's not supposed to happen on this day, right? That's how the nation of Israel, right? That's how the nation of Israel, exactly, right? So now when all the other nations was doing what they was doing, and they looked to us, and they saw us now on the Sabbath day, now not having our businesses open, not selling and buying and everything else, they saw a difference with us. So the Most High now separated us from all nations to keep these ordinances. And on this day, we kept a memorial of blowing of trumpets. No servile work, right? So now we have the name of a memorial blowing the trumpets. So what do we do with these trumpets, right? Let's go to Numbers. Sure.
It says no servile work.
Right.
Now, the way this captivity has us, sometimes it's necessary,
right,
for you to be feed your family
Mm-hmm.
and continue to have this job
Mm-hmm.
to be at that servile work
Right.
on the day
Mm-hmm.
when we supposed, because well, I go with that Psalm 83, where it says, the nations conspire
Mm-hmm.
to keep us off track,
Right.
okay? And if it's necessary for you to keep your job, because the job cares less about you being right with your God. So because the Lord sees your heart, then it's okay to do servile work in order for you to continue to be able to support your family.
So again, right before you came in, we addressed the same thing. We addressed the same thing, right? So yeah, so like it tells you in St. John 1, I think it's 17, it says, for the law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ, right? So he came to give us truth, but he also came to bring us grace, because he understands that we are in the land of our captivity. Some things are out of our control when it comes to serve our work, where you may get a job and they may require you on your first time, you haven't put your time in yet. They say you got to work on Saturday, on the Sabbath day, right? And you're like, well, can I get the day off? Well, you only want, well, everybody else got off. You got to get that slot, right? Until you get a little bit more seniority or what have you, you may still have to be required to work those days. Now, on those days, you may need to pray to the Most High and ask for forgiveness that you're now going on those days, that he is now extending that mercy to you because of those situations. Now you have it where some, out of their own heart, want to go and work on those days, right? They choose to go and want to do. Because remember, what we see on the outside is what we see. The Most High sees what's on your inside. It's based on your intentions, right? So if you're saying, well, I probably could get this day off, but I'm going to go in, right? I'm going to go in to get this extra bread, like, because, I want to get this thing, or I want to get that. It's not out of necessity. It's just out of want. Those things, there really is no mercy for that, because you don't have to do it if you're choosing to do it, right? So now when it comes down, when your employer is saying, can I get this day off? No, I need you here. That's different, right? It's out of your bounds. And sometimes somebody who's faithful will say, well, you should press your employer. Maybe he'll bend. But, that's on your situation. Everybody knows how theirs works, right? Mine may not be as lenient as someone else's, or someone else's may not be as lenient as mine, how that goes. But again, St. John 1:17 says grace and mercy came by Yahushua, and how we operate and what we do is based on our intentions and the sincerity in our heart, right? So the wisdom that I would give is, on those days, pray to the Most High for forgiveness on those days because of the obligation that you have to go work. The 10th chapter, first verse. If I can get Kahan Nabiyah.
So everybody has it?
Say it again.
Numbers 10 and 1.
Son.
So in Numbers chapter 10 and verse 1, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly, and the journeying of the camp. And they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves. If they blow but with one trumpet, and the princes, which are the heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee. When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east parts shall go forward. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journey.
This is us coming out of Egypt, right? This is now us, that generation, now relearning or getting the commandments of the Most High, the statutes of the Most High about what to eat, what not to eat, what to offer to the Most Highs and things to wear, what we shouldn't wear, when we should stay away from the Most High. All of this is what we're getting from the Lord. But now it goes into the aspect of when we move, right? How we operate as a nation when we are migrating or moving from place to place, specifically here while we're in the wilderness. The Most High had the priests make these 2 trumpets made of silver for the calling of the assembly. So when they heard the trumpets being blown with a certain sound, certain sections or groups of Israel would now hear this and move out or respond accordingly to the sound that's being blown, right? Now, remember, I usually always say things that we did in the past that was literal, and it took a literal effective meaning when we read it, always took another spiritual meaning later on as time went on. Because remember, it says the law was our schoolmaster, right? We were being taught, we were being groomed like Daniel's son by Mr. Miyagi. Certain things you didn't know when you was doing it until after the fact. So here as the trumpets are being blown and the Lord is saying, this group moving this way, that section go here, and you come over here. You always had to be very attentive to the sound of the trumpet, right? Israel always had to know, when I hear that, time to pack up and go. Time to go here and do such and such, right? The voice of that trumpet, that silver one by the priest, told Israel how to move and what things to do. So you always was listening for the trumpet. So now go back to 6 again.
When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journey.
Mm-hmm.
But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
Right. So there's different sounds that need to come out of that trumpet, right? That's how you see in Esau's military, they do the same thing, right? When it's time to eat, they have a sound that's being blown by the trumpet. When it's time to move out the war, they have a sound that's being blown by the trumpet. When it's time when someone died and they're coming back into the camp, they have a sound being blown by the trumpet. Where did they get all this from? From here, from the scriptures, right? From the Most High on how he orchestrated how Israel was going in and coming out, right? Read on.
Verse 8, and the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpet. They shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout the generations. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets. Ye shall be remembered before Yahweh your power, or Lord your God. Ye shall be saved from your enemies. Right.
So now back in 8 where it says, ye shall blow the trumpets and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. Right. So even up until now, the horn, the trumpet, the shofar, right, that we use, we call it a ram's horn, was supposed to be a significant tool with Israel, right? Because the Most High put that in law forever throughout your generations. That was never supposed to cease from being a part of our culture, right? Especially that the priests are using it to alarm or to signify Israel what they should and shouldn't be doing, or where they need to go, or when they need to stop. Or in this case, as we read the 9th verse, when you go to war, right? So even in the law, the Most High says anytime Israel goes to war, what has to happen? The trumpet, the alarm has to be blown. It has to be sounded, right? That's something that we read through our history that even certain men did when you read in the stories, right? Go to the Apocrypha, the book of 1 Maccabees. First Maccabees, the 4th chapter. On down to 14. First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 10. So it says, now therefore let us cry unto heaven if peradventure, everybody got it? Page 118. First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10. It says, now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure perhaps the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. So before they're going out to war, Judas Maccabees and the men, Judas is leading a prayer that the Most High himself would come and help defend us before our enemies. It says, verse 11, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over and against them. So after they finished praying, they went on to the battle. Verse 13, wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets, right? So now as the war is about to go on after the prayer and the enemy and everyone's coming, the trumpets were being blown. Why? Because we just read it in Numbers, the 10th chapter and the 9th verse. If there's war, make sure you sound the alarm of the trumpets, right? So here we see that Judas did this, not once, but twice. There's another chapter that shows when Israel did the same thing. However, it is because it is the commandment of the Most High that this was done, right? So now, even when you look at when Christ comes back, what's going to happen, right? When Yahushua comes back for the second term, go to 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians.
Let this go. Hold it.
We can let that go. That was 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10 to 14. Fourth chapter.
4.
4.
And 16.
First Thessalonians chapter 4. Oh, you left that. 4:10 and 14.
First Thessalonians. We have 1 Thessalonians now, chapter 4, verse 16. Gabar, if you could read that. Sure. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16. 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10 to 14. All right.
Right. All right. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout,
Mm-hmm.
and with the voice of the archangel,
Mm-hmm.
and with the trump of God,
Mm-hmm.
and the dead in Christ shall rise first.
Right. So in the day when Yahushua or Jesus Christ in the English comes back, right? He's not coming alone, like it tells you in Acts. He's coming the same way we seen him left. He's coming back again in the chariots with the angels, right? Michael is going to be there. But it also lets you know that the trump of God is also going to be there. It's going to be sounded. Michael is going to sound the alarm when that time happens, right? And it's going to be something that the whole world is going to be privy to, right? And then that battle, that part of the battle will commence. They're going to fight, but then the real war is going to start, right? When the world fights against Christ and the angels and the elect, right? So now, let's go to Ezekiel. Actually, let's hold Ezekiel. I'm going to come back to Ezekiel. I'm going to finish up in Numbers first. Let's go back to Numbers. Let's go back to Numbers 10. Mm-hmm. And we're going to reread 9.
Everybody have it? 10, 4, 10 who?
Back in 10 and 9.
10, 9. All right. All the pages being turned. Go ahead, sir.
Numbers chapter 10, verse 9. If you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, shall blow an alarm with the trumpets. Ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God. Ye shall be saved from your enemies.
Right. So it says when you blow that alarm, the Most High is going to remember you before your enemies. That's the sign or the signal that the Most High is now have been called on by the Lord, by his people. And then he can go and send help by way of the angels to come and redeem or save or fight for the nation of Israel, right? But that's part of the commandment, that you come and that you blow that trumpet before you go to war, right? Read on.
Verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness and your solemn days, and the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offering and over the sacrifices of your peace offering. They may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
Right. So over your, it says also in the days of your gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginnings of your months, which is the new moon. So we're talking about days such as the day of Simon, day of Judas, Purim, right? Then we get into the Passovers, the high holy days, the new moons. It says, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, right? Meaning on those days when the people came to worship before the Lord, all of those days had sacrifices associated with them, right? You had to bring an offering. You'll read about that in Numbers, the 29th chapter. Every day, the Sabbath day, the new moon, the holy days, all of them had offerings that had to accompany those days where you sent the sacrifice to the Lord. When you did that, the priest had to go and take this and blow it over the offerings of the Most High, right? That's what we're reading here as law, right? So that's what you'll hear on those days. Sabbath day, Sabbath, you'll hear the trumpet being blown. The new moons, the beginning of our months, like today, the trumpet is being blown. The feast days of the Most High, the trumpet is being blown. Going to war, trumpet is being blown. We're moving from one place to another on our journeys, the trumpet is being blown. So it became a significant part of Israel. You always heard this trumpet being blown throughout the nation of Israel. Right. So every Sabbath, you're aware, you're waiting for what? That is the signal that we about to start the Sabbath service. We about to start a part of the prayers, right? So that's something that we always was privy to, right? But then the horn was something that was vocal. It was like a loud noise that had to go out, right? So like I said, things that was literal became something more figurative as we migrated longer over time into our history. Where the Most High made what? He made us become the trumpet, right? Man became the trumpet, right? How so? Very popular verse. Go to Isaiah, the 58th chapter. Isaiah 58. And 1. All right, y'all. When you get that, Baba Kashab, you can read that.
Everybody got it? Isaiah chapter 58, verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sin.
Right. So this message was going out to the prophets, right? To the seers, to the overseers over the nation of Israel. He's told the Most High commanded them to go and cry out, right? Cry aloud, spare not. Don't spare anyone's feelings. They say the truth hurts. Some people ain't going to want to hear it, but you got to give it to them, right? It says, lift up thy voice like the trumpet, right? So as loud as that trumpet was, now your voice has to be loud so it can be heard by a lot of people. Right. Remember Yahushua, Jesus Christ, when he was teaching at some point, he was on a ship teaching the people on the beach, on the seashore. Right. He couldn't talk, like how they show on TV, right? Hey, we need to, the Lord loves you. God is love, this, that, and the other. No, his voice carried like water. So that like it says, like the many waters, right? his voice was very loud. So we now have to use our voice in that capacity to show our people their transgressions, right? Because why? The kingdom of heaven is soon at hand, but also the day of the Lord is at hand. Right? The day of the Lord, meaning his judgment is at hand. So we now need to sound that alarm to let everybody know you need to repent. If you don't repent, destruction is coming from you. If you do repent and you do the righteous acts, the reward, the kingdom is for you, right? That's where now man has become this trumpet on earth, right? Let's get a little bit more deep in that. Go to Ezekiel 33. Ezekiel chapter 33. Ezekiel 33 and 1.
33 and 1. God's son. What? And again.
Brother Tino, when you get that, if you could read that. Chapter 33, verse 1. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head.
Uh-huh.
He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood shall be upon him. But he that takes warning shall deliver his soul.
Right. So now the Lord says, when he's about to bring destruction, right, and the people of the land choose out a watchman for them. That watchman, just like how, when people are someone, they say somebody got to be a part of the night's watch, right? You got to go watch out for the people. So if you see somebody coming or you see an army of people coming, you do what? You alarm the people. Right. Yeah, you blow the horn. Everybody who was asleep, everybody who was out chilling, drinking wine, or whatever they was doing, they know to hold on. We got to stop, shut that down. We got to go address this matter at hand. Right? So the Most High says that he's now coming to bring a sword upon the land, meaning what? Destruction. Death is coming, right? The Lord is doing this. So now the Lord has already told everybody death is coming, but you got watchmen that set up amongst you. They now have to go and alarm all the people with the trumpet, right? You got to say, hey, the Most High is coming. Christ is coming back in the second time. You got to clean up your act. You got to put this vape thing down or whatever the heck this thing is. It's killing y'all. Why y'all still vaping, right? Put the vape down, put the cigarettes down, put the weed, put all that down.
But he coming.
He coming, because if you continue to do that to destroy your temple, the Most High will destroy you. That's what he tells you in Corinthians.
Come with the sword. Coming
with the sword. Devious, sinful acts that's going to cause you to be killed. So now when that trumpet, that voice is sounded and people take heed, he saved his soul. He took it. But now the person who don't take heed, his blood upon him, right? He's, is wicked, right? He's, don't have any regard for the knowledge of the Most High, don't have no regard for Christ, don't have no regard for anything but himself. He's going to be judged on his own, right? Read verse 6. Right. So if the watchman see the destruction coming, but he don't tell nobody, right? And now the person that didn't get warned wound up getting killed, right? Now that person is going to get, his fate is there. But the Lord said, now his fate is on your hand. His blood is on your hand. Why? Because you didn't want him. All the way going back to Cain and Abel, like we were dealing with last week. You're your brother's keeper. You're supposed to be the watchman for your brother. If it were you, you would want somebody to warn you. That's like you walking down the block and there's a group of guys at the end of the corner setting to rob people. But you're my brother, and I'm watching you walk down the street, and I'm like, man, right? And he go down there, he gets behind Rob. He gonna come back like, yo, why you ain't tell me, right? He gonna be mad at me because I didn't warn him, right? But now if I warn him, I say, look, man, I don't think you want to go down that block. I done seen a lot of people get robbed. It's these dudes that's hanging out the house down there. Yeah. They always be robbing people. I advise you to go down that block and go all the way around and come back up the other block. What you talking about? Anybody gonna rob me? Me? And he take his behind down there and get robbed. You can't come back to me and say nothing because I warned you. Right? So that's how the Most High has now laid that responsibility upon all of us. Right? It was on the priests and the seers back then. But now when we come into this truth, we all become a nation of priests, right? We become a nation of watchmen, right? To go out there and sound that alarm to let the people hear, right? That's why I read Isaiah 58:1. So when that trumpet is blown, we become it. So as this is a memorial of the trumpets, it's a memorial of all the instruction that the Most High had given Israel. But now to remind us of the responsibility for today's time was laid upon us, right? The bigger goal, the bigger task is at hand to warn our people, to order them aright. Don't go there, right? How we read in Numbers where it says when they blow it this way, they come in their line, they take their journeys here, right? Or you sound it a different way, you say stop, don't go nowhere. It's the same thing. We're saying, look, December 25th, nah, you don't want to do that, right? You about to go put what? You getting a lion on your back for what? It sounds great. I see everybody doing it, but that's not what the Lord wants. He don't want you to put any markings upon your flesh. That's a custom of the nations. That's not how we operate, right? So that's that warning, that's that order, that's that instruction that's going out when the trumpet is being blown, which is now the Most High's word, right? The voice of God, the trumpet is now Christ being spoken through us, right? So now let's go to let's get a light. Let's get a subraise. Let's go to Psalms. Psalms 81. Where did I stop at in Ezekiel? 6, yeah. Psalms 81:1. Stop. Mm-hmm.
Psalm 81:1. It said to the chief magician.
He's reading. Oh, musician.
To the chief magician upon the grip.
Musician.
Musician upon the grip.
All right.
The song of the Asaph. Sing aloud unto God, our strength. Make a joyful noise unto God of Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Take a song and bring the hither to the temporal.
Bring hither the timbrel. Mm-hmm.
The pleasant harp with the psaltery.
Mm-hmm. So now when it talks about praising the Lord, right? So that aspect that you'll see in the Baptist church, the Methodist church, and all of them, where they have these grand, glorious choirs, right? That aspect, there's nothing wrong with that, to sing to the Most High, right? To sing songs and have a choir and do all those things. Nothing wrong with that. The only problem that we have with that is their form of worship and how they worship the Most High is not according to knowledge, like it tells you in Romans 10:2, where they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge, right? The Sabbath day is not kept on the right day, right? The days that they keep in the church are not according to the days that's in the Bible, right? Singing to the Most High on that regard is unprofitable, right? Because you're not keeping what the ordinance of the Lord wants. as a father, it's like, look, I've given my child all these different rules and responsibilities to do. And I'm looking down the line and he ain't doing none of them. Then what? I'll be upset. I'm gonna be mad, right? But then he comes strolling in. Hey, Dad, I got the song I want to sing for you. You think I want to hear the song? I don't want to hear no song. Get out of here, right? Because I'm mad that you didn't do this. You just ultimately just said, forget what I said I wanted you to do. Forget when I said I wanted you to come. Forget what I said, what things I want to eat at my feast. You just did your own thing. And now you want to come sing to me? Get that out of here, right? That's why the Lord said, hold this in Psalms 81, go to Isaiah, first chapter. Isaiah chapter 1. And 13. I'll read this one. So Isaiah 1 and 13, it says, bring no more vain in unto me. The new moons and the Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting, right? So now the things that the Most High required of us or wanted us to do is showing that he's upset. He's like, don't bring no oblations. I don't want to sing your offerings, your new moons, your Sabbaths, the calling of the congregation, and that out of here, right? It says it is iniquity or grief, even the solemn meeting. So the Most High is upset. He's grieved when we come together on these days because we ain't right, right? We're not right. So I don't want this stuff from you, right? It says your new moons and your appointed feast days, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. When you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes, cease to do evil, right? So when you do iniquity or sin, as much as you come and you pray to the Most High, you give offerings to the Lord said, I don't want that because you all wrapped up in sin, right? So take that out of here, right? So the Lord wants us, the first and most important thing the Lord wants us to do is be obedient. Be obedient, right? If the child said, out of the 10 things the father asked him to do, he did 8.5. All right. The 1.5 that you, I could deal with that, right? You trying, you on your way, right? So now when you come to sing the song, I'll sit and I'll listen to it because the majority of the spirit that's in you is to please the Father as opposed to not wanting to do any of them. You wrapped up in evil and iniquity. Take that song, your radio, your tambourine, your whatever you got and take it out of here. That's what the Lord is saying here. He doesn't want to hear it, right? So drop this in Isaiah. Go to 1 Samuel 15. 1 Samuel 15, 22. 15 and 22. So 1 Samuel 15, 22, it says, and Samuel said, have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams, right? So which one does the Lord prefer? That you bring these offers and these sacrifices, or you obey him?
Obey him.
Right?
Obey him.
So that was the answer. Behold, to obey is better than the sacrifice. Better to come with your money, better to come with your offerings, better to come with your prayers. And I don't want that. Just listen to me when I tell you to do something. Right? And that's how it usually appears, right? Because you're rearing them up, or you're trying to rear them up in the right way. So when you say something, you want or expect them to operate or move out on it. Right? So that's what Samuel advised us back then, that the Most High just rather us be obedient. Everything else will fall into place. Everything else, the way in which we offer things to the Most High, will fall into place because it's already in the law of what's pleasing to the Most High to give to him, and not things out of our own malicious heart, right? So now let's go back to Psalms 81. Time is yeah, and let's get a couple of good scriptures we end out on this. So back to Psalms 81. Who's reading Psalms 81? Pathak was. Ahawab said I was. Pathak was reading though. He was already reading that verse. Yes.
81 who?
81, and we have 3 now.
So,
81 and 3.
Going up.
thank you, sir. Psalm 81 and 3. Blow up the trumpet and the new moon and the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
Right. So in the Psalms, it also reminds us to blow up the trumpet. A lot of times when you read verses, when you read scriptures, the Lord has to repetitively tell us to do the same thing. Why? Because we're a forgetful people, right? We are hard-headed. We got to be told over and over and over again the same thing, right? Hard-headed and stubborn. So the same way sometimes parents say that about their children, even in our adulthood, we're the same way. The Most High looks at us as hard-headed and stubborn because as a people, collectively, we haven't done or executed what the Most High wanted us to do. So we have to be reminded over and over, right? Remember in Corinthians, the Lord said it is foolishness to do the foolishness of preaching. He sent us out to go and save our people, right? To have people go and stand on a corner, stand on the YouTube video, get behind a pulpit, whatever, to preach to people who they are, for someone to say, you know what your nationality is? That's foolishness. You should have knew this already from the Most High's perspective. Now you 50 years old, you 20-some years old, you 80-some years old, and you have to be told who you are, right? The Lord, and you're my chosen people from the Most High's perspective, from his vantage point. And I got to have people tell you again who you, every time I got to tell you who you are, right? I got to remind you what to eat. That ain't good to eat. And then you got some people that's just prideful, right? You can't tell them nothing, right? So the Lord said, okay, no problem. For them, I have a sword coming. A sword is coming. He tells you in Isaiah, it's going to jack him up, and he don't even know why. He don't even know why he getting jacked up. He coming up with all these spaced out theories of why these things is happening, and it's because of me. Because they not doing what I'm saying I told them to do, so I'm going to jack them up continuously, right? So again, it says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon and the time appointed on our solemn feast day. Read that 4th verse, the last one.
For this was a statute for Israel and a law of God of Jacob.
For this was a statute for Israel, not for everybody. It was for Israel, right? And a law of the God of Jacob. So it came from the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and was only given for Israel. That's what it says explicitly, right? So this is what only Israel is supposed to be doing. Only the people of Israel is supposed to be doing. You can't have another person from another nation come within your congregation, teach you who you are, and execute these laws. That's not how the Lord set it up. It had to be for Israel, by Israel. What is that? FUBU, for us, by us? This is like FUBU right here. This is the real FUBU. This was for us, by us. Right? All right, I get one more. Psalms 98. Psalms 98.
Yes, 98 and what?
4. Hold on, let everybody get it.
Oh, okay. Right to a certain page. I'm sorry.
Let me know when everybody got it.
What?
The Doc's still getting it.
Reading everything on the phone.
All right, so Psalms 98 and 4. It says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all the earth. Make a loud noise and rejoice and sing praise. Sing unto the Lord with the harp and the voice of a psalm. With trumpets and a sound of cornet, make a joyful noise before the Lord, the King, right? So, like you said earlier, praising the Most High is a good thing, right? When you're doing the righteousness of the Lord to back it up, right? When you have that, then singing, and you see certain brothers, they have raps out there. There's a lot of different forms of praise that you'll have people praising the Most High. Those things are acceptable, but the most important thing is the obedience of keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. All right. So that was Psalms
98.
All right, so we're gonna stop here, leave some time to feast. Most High's will, everybody, was to get those scriptures.
Right.
So also remember, these are the feast days that's coming up, right? So we have this one, we have Day of Atonement, we have Feast of Tabernacles coming up as well. All right, Feast of Tabernacles is one of the main high holy days, one of the main 3/4 holy days of the Most High. Tells you in Deuteronomy 16th chapter, 3 main holy days the Lord wants all males to appear: Passover, Feast of the First Fruits, or the Pentecost, and the Feast of the Tabernacles, right? Then you have the rededication of the altar, which was kept just like the Feast of the Tabernacles. So it's like 4. It's like one in every season, a high holy day in every season. And on these holy days, the Lord says you can't appear empty, right? So remember, as we go on the holy days, when we starting to keep them, your holy day offerings, your free will offerings, your tithes, all of those things is what helps keep the sanctuary, keep the teaching and things going, right? So I know in the past we kind of been lagging, but a lot of things have to be done in order to keep this going, right? We don't want to have it where, in a month or so, 2 months, come knocking on the door and like, y'all, we had to shut down because we ain't been, doing our part to keep things going, right? So we want to make sure that this is not like the mainstream church, because mainstream church is a bit different. You have a lot of people that's in there for the wrong reasons, right? Because the teachers is not right. However, the offerings and the things that they provide, offerings are supposed to be for the upkeep of the sanctuary, right? It's not for Samat, it's not for Kahan, it's not for any individual person. It's for the upkeep of what goes on in the Most High's temple, the Most High sanctuary, right? To allow people to come in, to allow things, the resources and things to be done, to be had, so we can provide that to the community, to our nation, That's what this is for. So we have to make sure we get back in tune with that to help build up what the Most High and Yahushua have commanded us to do. All right. So we'll be reminding that. We'll be trying to go through those things also throughout the classes upcoming. All right. So with that, we're going to close out today's service. We're going to send up the closing prayers. Lord's will, everyone has a fruitful and joyous memorial blowing of the trumpets, which means even though this is the 7th-day Sabbath, and only on the 7th-day Sabbath, we don't do any, personal cooking cooking with fire on the Sabbath day. Because this is a high holy day, you're allowed to cook, because that's what the Most High is telling us to do on the memorial blowing of the trumpets. So a 7th-day Sabbath, where it says you can't do these things, but you have a high holy day that supersedes that, right? Same thing you would have with a Passover feast week or Feast of the Tabernacles feast week, rededication to altar feast week, right? You're supposed to now feast on those days that the Most High set. 8-day feast, 8 days you're feasting. Today is the high holy day. This is one day we feast on this day. All right?
He asked me that.
Okay, good boy.
Well, I read a scripture where you're supposed to party on this day.
You supposed to party?
As long as you're celebrating the memorial of blowing of the trumpet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's in interpretation when you say party, right? Because I know the verse didn't say party, but it's a festive occasion, right? You're talking about having, yeah, exactly. That's why I alluded to when people are singing and sometimes we play music and certain things. Yes, right.
Then we will get down. I know that. So after we leave here, then we continue the party as long as we celebrate the memorial.
And within the day,
right after we leave.
What does that mean? Like going to the club?
Yeah.
No.
No. I misinterpreted that scripture.
Yes, you did. You know why? Because in the verse, the first part of the verse says a holy convocation. When you go to the club over there, that ain't a holy convocation. Right?
I thought as long as you consider the blowing of the trumpet, you know what I mean?
Right.
Someone else might be partying for one reason, but you partying for
yeah, but within a holy convocation.
Okay.
Yeah. A holy convocation. Yeah, he tried, right?
You shake a tail feather.
Uh-huh. It is. We are. It is a happy spirit within the holy convocation. Right?
Everybody going in with horns and stuff.
Cat gonna be at Club Amazura blowing a trumpet in there. Everybody gonna be turning like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? I have no idea. He blowing. I understand. No thing. All right. So Shalom Yasharallah. Peace to all brothers and sisters. Again, Lord's will, everyone has a fruitful, happy, festive memorial blowing the trumpet. Stay in the spirit. Lord's will, we'll see each other again this morning for the Sabbath service, where we'll be in the Apocrypha for the book of Judith. I think it's was it 7, 8, 8, 9? I think it's 8, 9 for the chapters, but both sides will. But stay tuned for the closing prayers. All right. Shalom.
I know.
You got to understand it, brother.
Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yah Salah. We just talked about it, right? Mama, remember. Mm-hmm. Barakatah Nata Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nata Lanawa, Pari Hagapan, Tawara Amun, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. Again, this is English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, the Most High, in the name of Christ, that gives us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, with Israel, right? So you read about this whole ceremony here. You read about that in Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, the 50th chapter, when the priest would go and do this ceremony in the temple. Ecclesiasticus, it's only one, it's not a first. Ecclesiasticus chapter 50.
Okay.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 50. Hey, Madra, upon you on Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. That chip, that mouthpiece, it messes it up. Yeah. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kushai, Shemai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalat, Maika Allah, Waha Allahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shema'il, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Waha Kaziyat, Bunya, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabium, Kakama, Rabium, Na'ai, Rabium, Bayana, Rabium, Sabalanwa, Rabium, Amawan, Rabium, Aqua, Rabium, Ahabium, Rabium, Agana, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayamnawa, Laha Akim, Wa Akwa, Wayasha Allah, from Yad, Waiwalam, Basham, Yahawashai, for water, Aman. English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers or angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection. And forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters and Israel, always and forever. In the name of Christ, thank you, so be it. Four Corners Prayer. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabat Yasaparium, Shema, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah, Hayanawa, Yahweh, all right, English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us in Israel and the house of books or schools. In Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. See the blessing for the food. All right. Yahweh, Gadawal, Bahasham, Adawanya, Yahawashai, Babakushai, Barak, Ma'ako, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayun, Yanawa, Lakam, Yanawa, Shakarai, Yanawa, Zakak, Shaw, Hirak, Kadash, Bahasham, Yahawashai, for water, Aman. All right, Shalom, Yashrala, those who listen on the teleconference line and live stream. Again, happy memorial blowing of the trumpets. Shah Shabbat. Shalom.
Shalom.